What if aging isn't inevitable? What if the wrinkles on your skin, the stiffness in your joints, and the slow decay of your body weren't the beginning of the end, but symptoms of a disease we could cure? For the first time in history, scientists are beginning to believe that aging itself might be treatable. Not just slowed down, but potentially reversed. And that changes everything. Aging has always been accepted as a natural part of life. Cells wear out. Organs decline. DNA accumulates damage. Eventually the body shuts down. But what if that process isn't set in stone? What if aging is more like rust than gravity? Not a fundamental law, but a side effect we might learn to control. Let's start with what aging actually is. At the cellular level, it's the gradual accumulation of molecular damage. Telomeres, the protective caps at the ends of your chromosomes, shorten every time a cell divides. When they become too short, the cell enters a state called senescence. It stops dividing but doesn't die. These zombie cells build up over time, releasing inflammatory signals that damage nearby tissue. This is one of the hallmarks of aging, cellular senescence. But that's just one part of the puzzle. There are others. Mitochondria, the energy factories in your cells, become less efficient. Proteins misfold. DNA repair mechanisms weaken. Stem cells lose their regenerative potential. Altogether, these changes contribute to the physical and cognitive decline we associate with getting older. For decades, this was seen as unstoppable. But recent breakthroughs are challenging that assumption. In 2012, Japanese scientist Shinya Yamanaka discovered a set of 4 genes, now called Yamanaka factors, that can reprogram adult cells back into a pluripotent stem cell state. In other words, they can turn back the clock. At first, this was seen as a way to create stem cells in the lab. But then something unexpected happened. In mice, activating these genes, partially, not enough to erase identity, but just enough to reset the aging clock, began to rejuvenate tissues. Eyesight improved. Organs regenerated. Lifespan extended. This wasn't science fiction. It was peer-reviewed, replicable science. And suddenly the idea of reversing aging didn't seem so crazy. Companies like Altos Labs, backed by billionaires like Jeff Bezos, are now investing hundreds of millions into cellular reprogramming. They believe aging is not just a condition to manage, but a problem to solve. But that's just the beginning. Other approaches target senescent cells directly. Drugs known as senolytics can identify and eliminate these zombie cells from the body. In animal models, removing senescent cells has improved physical function, increased lifespan, and even reversed symptoms of diseases like Alzheimer's and osteoarthritis. There's also caloric restriction, the most consistent method of lifespan extension across species. From yeast to monkeys, reducing calorie intake without malnutrition has been shown to delay aging and reduce the incidence of age-related diseases. Scientists are now developing drugs that mimic the effects of caloric restriction, such as rapamycin and metformin, hoping to harness the same longevity benefits without requiring humans to live on 30% fewer calories. Then there's gene editing. CRISPR technology allows us to modify DNA with unprecedented precision. In theory, we could correct mutations that cause premature aging syndromes, or even enhance genes that protect against age-related decline. But perhaps the most ambitious frontier is the epigenome, the system of chemical tags that tell your DNA what to do. Your genome doesn't change as you age, but your epigenome does. It becomes disorganized, leading to errors in gene expression. Scientists have discovered that it's possible to reprogram this epigenetic information, restoring a youthful state without altering the DNA itself. Some believe this could be the master key to reversing aging. All of this raises a fundamental question. What happens if it works? If we succeed in reversing or dramatically slowing aging, the consequences will be enormous. Not just in medicine, but in economics, ethics, and society. Who gets access? How do we manage population growth? What happens to retirement, to careers, to identity? What does it mean to be human in a world where aging is optional? And perhaps the biggest question of all, even if we could live forever, would we want to? But before we get philosophical, we need to understand just how real this revolution is becoming. Because every week, new papers are published, new trials begin, and new discoveries push the boundary further. What once seemed like science fiction is now a serious field of scientific inquiry, with real results and real momentum. We are not talking about immortality in the mythological sense, not invulnerability or eternal youth overnight, but we are talking about decades of additional healthy life, about growing older without growing frail, about preventing, not just treating, the diseases of aging. For the first time, we're not just studying aging, we're trying to cure it. To understand where this all might lead, we have to look at the pioneers, those who are already testing the limits of longevity science on themselves. Take Brian Johnson, a tech entrepreneur spending millions each year in pursuit of biological youth. He tracks hundreds of biomarkers, follows extreme dietary protocols, uses experimental therapies, and has already reduced his biological age according to some metrics. Critics call it biohacking hype, but others see it as a glimpse of what's coming. Then there's Dr. David Sinclair, a professor at Harvard and one of the world's leading experts on aging. He argues that aging is not only treatable, but that we may see therapies within our lifetime that reset the body's clock. His research focuses on NAD+, a molecule that declines with age and is essential for cellular repair. Boosting NAD+ levels in mice has reversed aspects of aging. Human trials are already underway. Sinclair is not alone. Around the world, labs are experimenting with ways to extend health span, the period of life spent in good health. Some are working on gene therapies that enhance longevity-associated genes. Others are developing tissue regeneration techniques, such as lab-grown organs and 3D-printed body parts. Then there are those exploring parabiosis, the controversial idea of rejuvenation via young blood. While still unproven in humans, early mouse studies suggest that factors in youthful plasma may help repair aged tissues. Meanwhile, AI is accelerating the pace of discovery. Algorithms trained on massive biological datasets are identifying new drug targets, predicting protein folding, and designing molecules never before seen in nature. Longevity research is moving from guesswork to precision science, faster than anyone expected. But here's the catch. Even if we develop powerful anti-aging therapies, aging is not a single problem. It's a network of complex, interconnected failures. Slow one part, and another may take over. Fix one tissue, and others may lag behind. The human body is not a machine with a single worn-out part. It's an ecosystem. And ecosystems are hard to control. That's why many researchers are cautious. They warn against overhyping early results. Mice aren't humans. What works in a lab may fail in the clinic. And even when something does work, scaling it safely and ethically is a massive challenge. The dream of extended youth may not come from a miracle pill, but from dozens of small interventions, each offering a few more years of health and vitality. Still, the momentum is undeniable. Just a decade ago, talking about reversing aging was fringe. Now it's being discussed in the world's most prestigious journals. Governments are starting to take notice. The World Health Organization has officially classified aging as a disease category worth targeting. Private investment in longevity biotech has exploded. What was once science fiction is becoming a global industry. And it's not just about the rich living longer. In fact, one of the promises of longevity science is to reduce suffering. Aging is the biggest risk factor for heart disease, cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's. If we can slow aging, we don't just add years to life, we add life to years. Millions of people could avoid decades of pain, disability, and cognitive decline. Imagine a world where 70-year-olds run marathons, start companies, fall in love again. A world where retirement is not the end, but a new beginning. Where aging doesn't mean decline, but transformation. That world may be closer than we think. Of course, with great power comes great complexity. Slowing or reversing aging won't just change individuals, it will change civilization. Population dynamics, healthcare systems, pension funds, generational hierarchies, everything gets disrupted. If people live 150 years, how do we handle resources? How do we redefine education, work, parenting, purpose? Then there are ethical dilemmas. If we create therapies that dramatically extend life, who gets them? Will they be affordable and accessible? Or will they deepen existing inequalities, creating a class of biological elites who age slower than the rest? There's also the psychological cost. Much of our identity is built around the arc of life. Childhood, youth, maturity, old age, each with its own meaning. What happens when we blur those boundaries? Will people get stuck in endless adolescence? Will we lose the wisdom that comes with aging? And yet, perhaps these are problems worth facing. After all, humanity has always strived to push its limits. We've cured plagues, conquered gravity, landed on the moon. Now we're turning inward, trying to understand and perhaps master the most ancient enemy of all, time. This doesn't mean death will disappear. Accidents, infections, cancer, these will still exist. But the slow creeping decay of aging, that might be optional. The question is not if, but when. The coming decades will tell. Trials are underway. Technologies are emerging. The biology of aging is no longer a mystery, it's a map. And we are beginning to trace its lines, searching for the way back. Not to childhood, not to immortality, but to resilience, to a future where aging isn't a sentence but a choice. To fully grasp the revolution unfolding in longevity science, we must dive deeper into the mechanisms that drive aging and how scientists are attempting to hack them. One of the central discoveries is that aging is not just wear and tear, it's a program. A coordinated series of genetic and epigenetic changes, cellular malfunctions and system-wide imbalances. And like any program, it can potentially be reprogrammed. Let's start with senescent cells, often called zombie cells. These are cells that have stopped dividing but don't die. Instead, they linger in the body, secreting inflammatory signals that damage surrounding tissue and accelerate aging. They're implicated in arthritis, cancer, and even cognitive decline. Scientists are developing senolytics, drugs that selectively destroy these cells. In mice, removing senescent cells has extended lifespan and rejuvenated tissues. Human trials are already showing promise. Next is telomere shortening. Telomeres are the protective caps on the ends of chromosomes. Every time a cell divides, telomeres get shorter. When they become too short, the cell either dies or enters senescence. Telomere attrition is one of the hallmarks of aging. In 2009, scientists who discovered the enzyme telomerase, which can extend telomeres, won the Nobel Prize. The challenge is that while telomerase may delay aging, it can also increase cancer risk. Finding the right balance is the key. Then there's the epigenetic clock, a way to measure biological age based on chemical tags on DNA. Unlike your chronological age, your epigenetic age reflects how old your body truly is. And here's the exciting part. In some studies, scientists have partially reversed this clock. In one small trial, a combination of growth hormone, metformin, and other compounds reduced the epigenetic age of participants by several years. This is early-stage research, but the implications are staggering. Mitochondria, the power plants of our cells, also play a crucial role in aging. As we grow older, mitochondrial function declines, leading to fatigue, organ dysfunction, and neurodegeneration. New therapies aim to restore mitochondrial health by using peptides like MOTS-C or targeting mitochondrial DNA repair mechanisms. Some researchers are even exploring mitochondrial replacement, swapping out old, dysfunctional mitochondria with younger, healthier ones. On another front, researchers are decoding the role of autophagy, a process where cells recycle damaged components. Autophagy declines with age, leading to cellular clutter and malfunction. Certain practices like intermittent fasting and compounds like spermidine or rapamycin appear to boost autophagy. In animal models, this has led to improved lifespan and reduced age-related disease. All these interventions stem from the realization that aging is multifactorial. It's not one switch, it's a symphony of changes. To truly delay or reverse aging, we need a coordinated approach. That's why companies like Altos Labs and Calico, backed by Jeff Bezos and Google respectively, are betting big on cellular reprogramming. Their goal is to restore aged cells to a more youthful state by tweaking a small set of genes, known as Yamanaka factors, that can reset cell identity. This technique has already turned skin cells back into stem cells in the lab. In mice, partial reprogramming has reversed signs of aging without causing tumors. If this can be done safely in humans, it would be a paradigm shift, not just slowing aging, but turning it back. But even if the biology is cracked, the psychological and societal impacts remain enormous. Imagine living to 120 or 150 in good health. That changes everything. How do you plan your life? Do careers span a century? Do people have children at 80? Do relationships last 100 years? Or do we evolve a new understanding of love and companionship over extended lifespans? Education would need to be lifelong. People might retrain multiple times, starting new careers at 60 or 90. Retirement may become obsolete. Instead of a short twilight, we might have a second act filled with creativity, productivity, and reinvention. But the flip side is equally important. If we extend life without ensuring purpose, mental health, and social cohesion, we risk a society of people who live long, but not well. Longevity without meaning is not a gift, it's a burden. That's why longevity science isn't just a medical revolution, it's a cultural one. It forces us to rethink every assumption we've made about life stages, mortality, and what it means to live a full life. And then there's the philosophical dilemma. If death becomes optional, what happens to the meaning of life? Much of human creativity, urgency, and passion is fueled by our awareness of time running out. If that pressure disappears, do we become more thoughtful or more complacent? Some argue that removing death removes humanity's greatest teacher. Others believe that with more time, we'll finally be free to explore deeper truths, longer-term goals, and richer relationships. The answer likely lies in how we adapt. And here's a sobering truth. The future of aging will not arrive all at once. It will come in waves. First for the rich, then for the rest. First for some diseases, then for aging itself. The science will outpace the ethics, the regulations, the access. But eventually the ripple effects will reach everyone. And when they do, we'll face the greatest transformation in human history. Not just how long we live, but how we live. So where does this leave us? We stand on the edge of a biological revolution. For the first time in history, aging is being treated not as a fate, but as a condition. One that can be measured, studied, and possibly reversed. What was once the realm of myths and science fiction is now a frontier of serious science, backed by billions of dollars, global talent, and accelerating discoveries. But the road ahead is complex. We don't yet know all the consequences of rewriting the rules of life. We may gain years, but will we gain wisdom? We may slow death, but will we understand life any better? Perhaps the real goal isn't immortality, it's vitality. A longer life filled not with more time, but with more meaning, with more health, more connection, more curiosity. And maybe, by studying aging, we don't just change the future, we redefine what it means to be alive. Because this isn't just a story about science, it's a story about hope. Hope that we are not prisoners of our biology. Hope that our best years might still be ahead. Hope that aging, once a slow surrender, can become a new beginning. Not an end, but an opening. And if that hope becomes reality, the world will never be the same.